Yes, hello students. Today we are going to start with our chapter number 1, that it is called as a reproduction in organism. As we have discussed in the earlier classes also, some of the portion of the reproduction we have discussed today, and now we are going to start with the revision of the prior concept, and we will continue with the next concept in this video. Now this lifespan as we have discussed in the classes also, the period of life from the birth to the death of an individual is called as a lifespan. Now what is life? As all of you are living, and there is a certain lifespan from the birth to the death of an organism for every individual. So here in this chapter we have divided the lifespan into the three parts. One, it is called as a juvenile phase, second one it is called as a reproductive phase, and the third one it is called as a aging phase. Juvenile phase is a kind of a phase where there is no reproduction takes place. It means that if no reproduction takes place, that means that there is only growth phase would be there. That actually varies from a age of 0 year to the approximately 11 to 12 years, depending upon the gender of a person. Now the juvenile phase is that phase where the no reproduction takes place, and it is also called as a growth phase of an individual. Reproductive phase or the puberty, that is the actual phase of the reproduction where an individual is able to reproduce. What do you mean by the reproduce? That they are able to produce its own progeny. They are able to give rise to the young ones that would be similar to itself, and that is also having a certain age period for the reproduction. Now the next one, it is called as a aging. Aging is that you are growing yourself, you are increasing in your age. If I will take one example, when you were at the age of 2 years, then you used to blow 2 candles for your cake. Now when you are at the age of 15 or 16 years, then the age is increased. It means that you are growing. Okay, so that would be called as a aging. That growth is continuing. Another one, there it is called as a senescence. Some of the students got confusion between what is the difference between aging and senescence. So senescence is basically when there is a complete cessation of reproduction. When no more reproductive activities are taking place, then the particular stage is called as a senescence. And the next, after the senescence, there it is called as a death. What do you mean by the death? Yes, death means that there is a complete cessation of all the life activities. Means your heart is not working, your brain is not working, and your body part is not working, no transportation is taking place. When there is no activities taking place inside your body, that it is called as a death. Now there may arise a kind of issue that what would be a coma then, because in coma also the physical activities are not going. So in that condition, coma, your heart is working. So some of the part of the body is working, but in death there is a complete cessation of all the activities. So the coma is different from the death. Now all these are the phases that would be a part where a person takes birth to the death of an organism. Now the one of the very important part that takes place in the lifespan, and we are also going to study in this chapter, that it is called as a reproduction. So what do you mean by the reproduction? Reproduction, it is a process in which an organism gives rise to the young ones similar to itself. Means it is a process where an organism gives rise to young ones similar to itself. Means an elephant will be able to produce a progeny of elephant only. A dog will be able to produce a progeny of dog only. A human will be able to produce the progeny of human only. So all these are the processes that would be a part of this chapter and we are going to study today. Now what is reproduction? Reproduction, as all of you know, that it is essential for the continuity of life. So reproduction is basically divided into the two parts, and before giving about the differences between the reproduction, I will give you some explanation regarding some parameters for asexual and sexual reproduction. So here I have given a table where I have given here parameter, asexual and sexual reproduction. So first, when we will talk about a speed, Hanji. So asexual reproduction, in the asexual reproduction, an organism is able to produce its progeny at a very high rate. So in asexual reproduction, speed is high, and in the sexual reproduction, speed is slow. For example, for the sexual reproduction, if there is a gestation period of approximately 9 months, then one baby will be produced after the 9 months, but it is not a part of a asexual reproduction. Now the next one that we are used to taking here, that it is variation. Yes, what do you mean by the variation? That the changes are produced in between the parent and the offspring. So what is variation? In asexual reproduction, variation is less in number, but in sexual reproduction, variation is high in number, because there is a fusion of the two gametes, and it would be a fusion of a, not a fusion, that would be a single gamete only. Now the third one that we can take for the asexual and the sexual reproduction is parents. Now the third factor that we can take is parents. In the asexual reproduction, there would be a uniparental, and for the sexual reproduction, it is biparental. If the next one that we talk about, that it is called as a fertilization. Here for the fertilization, we are using a one more word, that it is called as a syngamy. What do you mean by the syngamy? That it is a fusion of the two gametes would be taking place, and the fertilization of the two gametes that led to the formation of a zygote. So here no fertilization takes place, here the fertilization takes place. Here it is uniparental, and the another one it is biparental. Now the next one, the fifth concept that we can take for the differentiation between an asexual and a sexual reproduction, it is a clone. What do you mean by the clone? The definition is given in your NCERT also, that clone is basically actual or the exact copy of the parents. So if the exact copy of the parents are forming, then it is called as a clones. So as all of you know that the exact copies are not formed in the sexual reproduction, but the clones could be a chance for the asexual reproduction. Hoping all of you are understood about asexual and the sexual reproduction. Now the next one that we are going to start is our next topic, that it is called as the types of asexual reproduction. Now the next topic that we are going to start is types of asexual reproduction. Now there are different types of asexual reproduction, as we have discussed in the class also, that there is a budding, fragmentation, next one it is called as a spore formation, and the last one it is called as fission. So there are 4 or 5 types of reproduction that you need to study for this chapter. So first I am going to start with budding. Budding, all of you know that even if you have done in your class 7th also, that the hydra is there, he is able to produce a bud, and when the bird would get proper maturation, then it would get detached from the parent body and then it would be converting into the new organism. So budding is further divided into 2 parts. One, it is called as a exogenous budding, and the another one it is called as a endogenous budding. Okay? Exo means that the word decides here that it is outside the body. If the bird is forming outside the body and it deattaches itself after the growth, it is called as a exogenous budding. In your NCERT, the diagram is given that it is called as a hydra. Here, this kind of a diagram is given in your NCERT. Here it is parent body. Here it is called as a tentacles. And under the favorable condition, there would be some kind of a extra bird would be formed here, and it is called as bird. It is also called as the extra growth of the body. So when this bird will mature itself, it would get detached. It would get detached from the parent body, and now the new hydra would be produced. Now here this new hydra, it is called as a, now here it is new hydra, that it is called as a daughter hydra. Okay? And it is also called as a, in some books it is also called as a daughter bird. Now the next one, when we are going to talk for endogenous budding, when the budding is inside the body, when budding is inside the body, then it is called as a endogenous budding. Now we will discuss something more about endogenous budding, and the one diagram is also given in your NCERT. Endogenous budding means when the bird is formed inside the body, then it is called as a endogenous budding. In the endogenous budding, you have seen in your diagram also, there is something like that, it is given in your NCERT. There is a diagram for porifera. It is basically for the sponges are there. There is a outer membrane, and outer membrane, inside that there is a inner membrane where there is a large number of birds are forming. This extra growth it is forming, and inside the structure there is a large number of birds are growing. And this all birds or the cells, it is called as a archaeocytes. These cells which are growing inside the sponges, it is called as a archaeocytes, and these archaeocytes have a tendency of toteopatency. What do you mean by the toteopatency? It is a capacity of a cell to produce a new organism from the single cell only. So what is toteopatency? It is a capacity of a body. It is a capacity of a body to grow itself into the new organism. So it is also one of the important definition that you need to cover for your class 12 syllabus. Sometimes this definition can be a part of your board exams or sometimes it would not be, but you should know about what do you mean by the toteopatency. And for the endogenous budding, for the exogenous budding, one example we have done with the hydra and the another one it is called as a yeast. Yeast, here it is a yeast, there is a daughter bird, here it is a parent body, and when this daughter bird grown itself into a whole organism, then it would get detached from the body and the new organism would be produced. So it is all about the yeast. Here there is one more example is given in your NCERT that is related to a conidia. Now what do you mean by the conidia? You have studied in your class 11th also class? Yes. Conidia, it is a asexual method of reproduction. It follows asexual method of reproduction generated by some of the process that it is called as a mitosis. And the example would be for conidia, there is a Penicillium notatum is there. What do you mean by the Penicillium notatum? If you will have some kind of a vision towards the earlier classes, we have done in the class 11th also that Penicillium notatum was the only organism that was there for the production of a penicillin. That was the first antibiotic that was produced and it was done with a Alexander Fleming.